In this video, I would like to cover how I set up my master fader, some of the plugins I normally use on my master fader, my aux return plugins, and the settings that I usually start with at the beginning of a mix. Let's now go over and look at the master fader. Here is the master fader I'm using in this mix. And again, remember, a master fader is an input from all the other outputs in the mix. It is not an output, it is an input, contrary to what people believe. So the first plugin up would be an equalizer that has a high-pass filter capability, such as this DigiDesign 7-band. And I'm just using a little bit of high-pass filter, 6 dB per octave, around 40 kilohertz, just for a little bit of smoothing of the low end in my mix. And this I usually keep on from the start when I'm actually getting sounds. You can see here it's a really slight, nice 6 dB per octave roll-off, just to tighten up the low end a little bit. And notice it's the first one in the signal path, the equalizer. Let's move on to the next one, which would be a tape analog simulation plugin. This one's from Slate Digital, which sounds really good, and it'll just give you a little bit of that tape saturation and warm up your mix just a bit. This one I would not leave on and mix into it. I would bypass it and turn it on towards the end of the mix. And you can either bypass it by just clicking the bypass switch here, or moving over to the plugin header, and by command control clicking on the header name will make the plugin inactive. Moving on to the last insert on the master fader would be my peak limiter. This one's from Universal Audio. I try to keep the gain reduction around -3 dB, though you will get peaks sometimes to 4 and 5 depending on the content of the music. I will always go back and check the final gain reduction at the end of my mix just before I'm ready to print, to be certain I'm not over-limiting the mix. Now, if you know who the mastering engineer will be on the project, it can be beneficial to contact him and talk to him about the limiting on the mix. Okay, let's move now down to our first aux return. This is our generic EMT reverb plate that I discussed in the earlier video, so I will not go into it in depth right now. The next one is Revibe, made by Avid. I like to use this for a small room program. Basically, my rooms I like to set up below 1 second of reverb time. Right here, this one's set to 963, a little bit of pre-delay, and I boost the high end just a hair on this particular plugin. This would be my small room plugin. Next one, I like to set up a stereo long slap delay, ping pong delay. In this case, it's from Sound Toys, and this one's set up to be a half note dual delay, stereo delay. You can see that right here. I also will time it to the song by tapping this tempo button or typing in the BPM of the song. Very important when setting up a long delay. On this particular song, I am EQing the long delay, rolling out all of the bottom, boosting the upper mid-range, and cutting a little bit of high end out of it. This gives it sort of a lo-fi telephone delay effect, which works great for this type of Pink Floyd-y, ethereal sounding song. Moving on down the line, I will set up a medium delay. Let's close this and open up the next one, which is another Sound Toys plugin, but it's set to a medium setting of 250 milliseconds, ping pong delay. It'll slap back and forth with a little bit of feedback, basically a generic medium delay. The last one would be some kind of plugin that creates a doubling effect. In this case, the Eventide H3000, a great model of the old analog plugin from Eventide. I have a little bit of delay on one side, 14.6. I have the pitch part of the program up 6 cents on one side, down 6 cents on the other side. This is used as a doubling effect or to thicken up some tracks. So there we have it. We have the EMT plate, we have the reverb for the room, the long delay, the medium delay, and the pitch program. So this is my initial effects set up when I begin a mix. And I will add effects as needed. And remember, these are shared effects. You can use these on multiple instruments at the same time. I see so many mixes where people want effects and they put the plugin directly on the track when it's not needed. By doing it this way, you can save a great amount of DSP and computer power. There will be times when I will use an effect directly on an audio track. We will get into that later in this mixing series. Thanks so much for listening. Let's move on to the next video installment.